and will develop into a new individual, or you can say a new seed. Seed carries the new individual inside. So everything will be there, just like a sexual reproduction, flowers will be produced. But finally there will be no fertilization. So because there is no fertilization, it can be called as a sexual method of reproduction. So apomixis is basically a sexual mode of reproduction which copies. Mimics means copies. So it's a sexual reproduction which basically copies sexual reproduction. So every part of sexual reproduction is followed except for that last process, and that is called as the fertilization or syngamy. So apomictic seeds are very common in Poaceae family, Asteraceae family, that means grasses, and sunflower family, even present in the case of citrus and all. Now apomixis is of two types. The first one is recurrent agamospermy. Now what is recurrent? Recurrent means something which is fertile and is able to perform the same thing again in the next generation. Recurrence means happening again, generation after generation. The opposite word for this is non-recurrent. So the only thing in biology which can cause recurrence is diploid structure. Something which cannot develop again into next generation will be a haploid structure. So recurrent agamospermy is a type of apomixis in which there will be apospory or diplospory. Now what is apospory or diplospory? Let me go back to that topic again. Just give me a moment. If you remember this concept, we learned that the megaspore, this is an ovule. Inside the ovule, every cell is diploid. If you remember, the integuments are diploid, nucellus is diploid, nutritive material. Then inside this, just one megaspore will develop, which will divide by meiosis into 4. Only one cell will survive and develop into embryo sac. So embryo sac, every nucleus is going to be haploid. But outside this embryo sac, all cells are going to be diploid in nature. So main thing is now, in case sometimes what happen because of some error or something, that the megaspore mother cell, instead of undergoing meiosis, starts undergoing mitosis. So in that case, the megaspore formed will not be haploid, but it will be diploid. Such a megaspore which is diploid is called as diplospory. So when a spore or a megaspore formed from a megaspore mother cell is formed by mitosis or non-reductional division, it is called as diplospore. Such a spore will develop into an embryo sac, and in this embryo sac the egg cell is also going to be diploid. So if the egg is already diploid, does it need fertilization? The answer would be no, because zygote is also a diploid structure. So in that case, there is no need of the pollen grain, there is no need of the pollen tube to grow, there is no need of the male gamete to be fertilizing the egg, because egg is already diploid in nature. And second method possible is apospory. Now what exactly is apospory? Sometimes what happen, any other cell outside the embryo sac, for example nucellus, for example integuments, these cells, because these cells are diploid, they start acting like a zygote and they develop into new individuals. So sometimes without the involvement of the male counterpart, female is able to produce new individual. So it is a sexual reproduction copying the sexual reproduction. So apospory is when a cell, a diploid cell, is involved from outside the embryo sac, inside the embryo sac, but from a diploid spore. Now another method is adventive embryony. What is adventive embryony? It's a process in which this process happens. So a cell outside the embryo sac, that means a nucellar cell or the integumentary cell, is going to start acting like a zygote and develop into new individual. So it can lead to polyembryony. Now polyembryony is of various types, though this topic is not in your NCERT. Let me simply cover for 2-3 minutes. A simple polyembryony is sometimes in an ovule there will be more than one embryo sac. one more embryo sac developing inside, so there can be 2 embryo sacs or 3 embryo sacs. So when more than 1 embryo sacs are present in a ovule, that means if embryo sac is more in number, eggs are also going to be in more number. This is called as a simple polyembryony. Example is Brassicaceae or Brassica mustard. What is adventive polyembryony? When a cell of nucellus or a cell of integument develops into a new individual because it starts acting like a zygote, reason it is already diploid. Example, citrus. Citrus means lemon fruits, vitamin C rich fruits, or otherwise mango. Now mixed polyembryony, a polyembryony in which more than one pollen tube is involved. Sometimes, because pollen grains are many in number, sometimes many of them will fall on the same pistil or the same stigma. They all start germinating, they all start preparing the pollen tube. So sometimes more than one pollen tube enters the ovule. More than one pollen tube enters the ovule. In that case, it is possible that one of the pollen tube content may fertilize